following is a presentation of the Fellowship Church at Anthem, a community of faith, love, and hope. For more information, please visit fellowshipanthem.com.
Well, today is a matter of the heart called attention. And so I want to just say in advance, thanks for your willingness to participate in a brand new series that's going to be airing on AMC Network this fall called A Day in the Life of the American Pastor. And you are all the stars of the TV show. Actually, I am, but you're a part of my life, so we're going to experience it together. We started filming, actually, this week, and basically what we're going to do is we're just going to show America what it's like to be a pastor. And so every week we're going to be shooting some video and sort of showing people what it's like to talk to people, preach, teach, sing, practice, counsel, you know, all the stuff that pastors do and all the stuff that churches do. It's going to be included in the series, so it's going to be a lot of fun. And if you haven't signed your waiver yet, if you could do that whenever you leave this morning, that would be really helpful for us because you're all now part of the series. So today we're talking about a brand new matter of the heart called attention. Last week we introduced this whole great series called Matters of the Heart, and it's all about the 4 deep needs that exist in every single heart. It doesn't matter our age, doesn't matter our demographic in life, education, information, doesn't matter our income level, doesn't matter our background, race, doesn't matter our ethnicity. Nothing matters. It's all the same across the board. These 4 deep needs of every heart, and they compound, they build. And so today we're talking about the first of those 4 needs, and it's attention. It's attention. Attention is the first need of the heart. It's that part of our heart, that most basic need of the heart. It's the need to be noticed. It's a need to be recognized. It's a need to be acknowledged. Oh, I see you. Oh, you're aware. Oh, you're alive. I get you. It's the most basic, fundamental need that God created us with. And he demonstrated his attention on us. We'll talk about that a little bit today. Some of the ways he demonstrates that. Some of you have experienced it already. You already know God is attentive to you today. Maybe that song that Jessica sang. It touched something in you that made you feel something. That's not by accident. That's not like some magic church hocus pocus spell that we cast on you when you come in here. It's God reaching out, touching you, speaking to you, giving you his attention, and making you aware that he has your attention and you have his. There's a connection point there. It's the most basic, fundamental need that he created us with. It's that need inside of us that says, I'm significant. I matter. I have value. I'm here. I'm present. God did that when he created the universe, and he created all the things in the universe. And so part of his creation, the reflection of who he is in us, is that we matter. We are here. We are significant. We have value. And we see it come out in a lot of different ways. Our quest for attention, our need to be noticed comes out in a lot of different ways. Some of us wear crazy shirts. Some of us do our hairdo in all kinds of crazy ways. Some of us, you know, we drive certain vehicles or ride certain things just in order to be noticed in certain ways. We perform in certain ways. We act out in certain ways. There's a lot of ways we sort of let our need for attention be made known in the different spheres and the different environments of our life. But we all have that need to be noticed. It is that part of us that God created that says, I am significant. I love this passage of Scripture. This is from Psalm chapter 139. It says, I will offer you my grateful heart, for I am your unique creation. You recognize that about yourself, that you are a unique creation of God? There's no other person like you in the world. You are one of a kind. You are special. You are significant. You deserve to be acknowledged. You deserve to be noticed. He says, I am your unique creation, filled with wonder and awe. you have approached even the smallest details of my life with excellence. Your works are wonderful. I carry this knowledge deep within my soul. That is the heart cry of our need to be acknowledged, our need to be noticed, our need to be recognized as significant and having value. There's a lot of ways that we cry out for that. Some of them are healthy, some of them are not healthy. If you have kids in your life or grandkids in your life, I'm sure you are familiar with the fake attention cry of our children, right? You finally get it down after a while that your kids are not in pain, they are not really hungry, they do not need anything other than your attention. It's the cry that doesn't really cry. It's kind of the We all have it. It starts at a very young age. We learn it, and we even condition our kids to it. They cry and cry and cry, and finally we go pick them up, and the crying immediately ceases. And inside their little brains, their conniving little brains, they're like, yes. It's amazing what we will do to gain attention. Some of the negative ways that we go about gaining attention, because some of us, honestly, we are attention junkies. We crave the attention of others. The attention that we crave could be just of a few people, could just be of significant people in our life, our parents, maybe even the attention of mentors or teachers in our life, people that will affirm us and acknowledge us and make us aware that we are there, that we exist. Some of us need a larger stage, a larger platform of attention where we are constantly seeking the approval of others and the attention of other people. There's a lot of ways that we go about with attention-seeking behavior. Let me give you a couple that you probably will recognize clearly in someone else, but not yourself. But you know that person in your life that in the middle of the conversation, they're always interrupting. That's attention-seeking behavior. You don't even get to finish your statement. You don't even get to finish your sentence. And they're like, hey, yeah, well, that's a great idea, but... They want to sort of demonstrate their presence, demonstrate their superiority. Some people do it through knowledge. Knowledge superiority. That's the fact that I'm always right. I'm always right. It took me like almost 30 years of marriage to figure that one out. Thankfully, Peg was really gracious, and she let me continue to think it until I realized, wow, I'm not always right. That's a sure sign of an attention-seeking behavior when we assume our rightness. Sometimes attention-seeking behavior is just about being loud and obnoxious. It's like a conversation starts, and to get more attention, you go louder. And the person that you're trying to get the attention from goes louder, and then you go louder. Or it's just obnoxious. It's just out there, and people around you are like, oh my God. It's attention. Sometimes that's all that we need to fill that hunger inside of our soul. Some people gain attention by being the center of every story that comes out of their mouth. You notice that? Like that? It's like, well, I remember once when I was working over in Palestine, and we were doing some sort of something or another, and it was probably the most important work that the universe has ever seen because of my intellect is so high, and can't even believe how much money I made when I was doing it, and I bought a castle. And it just gets bigger and bigger and bigger, but they're the center point of their own story. It's attention-seeking. Usually, those attention-seeking, those overt sort of attention-seeking behavior, those are indicators of an attention craving in our soul that is also sort of a deflection for this huge lack of security with who we actually are. We're not comfortable in our own skin. We're not comfortable with who we really are, and so we try to divert attention over here. Don't look at this part of me. Look over here at the greatness of me. And that whole thing of seeking attention becomes the dominant focal point of our life. So, when you think about attention-seeking behavior in your own life, being able to be noticed and being able to be observed, what does that look like for you? Let me give you a couple things today, because attention is a need in our life. It goes into some aberrant ways. Some of us might even, we go the opposite way. We'd like try to hide and cower so that we don't get anybody's attention. We're completely off of everybody's radar. That isn't necessarily healthy either, because then we become reclusive, we become like shrunk away, and we don't engage in any relationships. It can definitely go both ways. So let's talk a little bit about attention today and how we give it and how we receive it. Here's the first thought I want to sort of plant in your mind today. We all have a limited amount of attention. We all have a limited amount of attention. We all have only so much attention to direct in one particular area. It's limited. Now, some of us have more than others, but we all only have a limited amount. It's not infinite. You can't just keep giving more and more. You can't keep creating attention out of yourself to give towards people, towards projects, towards passions. It's always going to be limited. You know how it is at the end of your day when you come home and it's been a hard day at work or a hard day at school or a hard day in whatever environment you've engaged in. And the person on the other end of the conversation is ready to engage. It could be your spouse, it could be your kids, it could be the police officer, it could be a lot of people on the other end of the conversation ready to engage you. And if it's been a long day, your attention span has shrunk. Your capacity to give attention has decreased. Your brain just won't work the same way. So you can't think clearly, you can't think succinctly, you can't string together thoughts in a way that's healthy. That's a clear indication of our limitations in terms of our attention. So here's a good question for us. Do I give adequate attention to the deep relationships in my life? It's one of those badges of honor that really shouldn't be a badge of honor today. We have a lot of people that have even adult ADD, attention deficit disorder, which is a legitimate disorder and needs to be cared for well and treated well and all that kind of thing. But there's also a lot of people that don't really have attention deficit disorder, but they like to tell people they do, and it's really nothing more than an excuse for not paying attention. You found people like this in your life? It's like they get bored of the conversation, and so they start looking off, or they go somewhere else, and then they're like, "Oh, I'm sorry, I've got ADD." No, you just have rudeness. So that attentive capacity, we have to understand it's limited. Your attentive capacity to the words that I'm saying to you right now is about 22 minutes. It's about all you have. And it's conditioned by the media that most of us are exposed to every day, which inserts a commercial about every 7 to 9 minutes. That's why every 7 to 9 minutes, I give you something that makes you laugh. It breaks up the monotony of my voice. It re-engages your attention, causes you to laugh, helps you see if you're really paying attention or not. We all have a limited amount. I'm going to try not to exceed yours today, so I'll quickly. Number 2. You get to choose where your attention is directed. You get to choose it. It's your choice. You are the one that gets to determine where your attention goes. Think about this. We use a little phrase when we talk about attention. We use it especially with our kids during class, during school, and we say to them, "Hey, you're not paying attention." Why do we use that phrase? You're not paying attention. It's because we see our attention capacity as a huge value in our lives. We even have it in our relationships. Sometimes I'm sitting with Peg, and she's telling me some story that I'm only vaguely interested in, and my attention is elsewhere. And she starts to detect that my attention is actually located somewhere other than the most important conversation she's had with me all day. And so she'll start playing tricks with my mind. She's a little bit of a Jedi master like that. Because she'll catch me going into like fake attention mode. Wow, really? That is interesting. Oh, wow. Seriously, babe, that is interesting. And in the meantime, she's told me like 7 stories, none of which were true. And then finally she'll say something that completely catches my attention because it's not even accurate, it's not even true. And it's like, what? What did you say? And she's like, see? I'll be like, how long have I been out there? She's like, 4 stories in 10 minutes. Like, shoot, sorry about that. I get to choose where my attention is directed. It's funny, the media sort of gets this, right? I'm watching my favorite game on ESPN or some sports channel. And on the channel, we have like 4 different games going on all at the same time. Now, think about this. You guys are incredibly intelligent people. Can you really see 4 different games at the same time? I mean, most of us only have 2 eyeballs, but they work together. So you can literally only look at one of those 4 games at the same time. Now, you can move around quickly, but you can only see one of them at a time. And then, to sort of simplify things, they put a scrolling banner across the bottom. That's a lot easier now. Yeah, for sure. It's not uncommon for me to be looking down at the banner, and all of a sudden the guy makes an interception, runs it all the way back for a touchdown. I'm like, what happened? I missed it. I was watching it, but I missed it. Our attention is ours to choose where it gets placed. That's why whenever it's not being directed properly, whether it's with our kids, whether it's with the freeway, driving down the freeway. Isn't it amazing? I mean, I know none of you have ever done this, but I remember one time I was texting while I was driving. And I looked down and sent an emergency text to someone who is very, very important. And I looked up and literally it couldn't have been more than like 3 or 4 milliseconds. That's all it took. Our attention is ours to choose where it gets focused. We have to understand that our attention is a filter. We filter where it's going to go. And we have a limited amount of it, but we get to choose wherever it goes. Am I going to focus my attention on my wife right now, my kids right now, my job right now? And I might move it around quickly, but I can literally only focus my attention in one direction at one time, and it's mine to choose. I get to say. There's a lot of competition for my attention out there, but I am the one who gets to say. Have you ever found yourself at a party with a group of people, and you're sort of milling around the party and step into a conversation? Hey, how's it going? Good. How are you doing? Great. Hey, did I tell you about my kids? No, tell me about your kids. Oh, my God, my kids. And they start going off on the kids thing. And before long, you realize that you're just standing there sort of nodding and politely smiling and that kind of thing, but you're actually listening to the conversation right over there. Because it's more interesting than this one is. See, we get to choose where our attention is. We might be looking visually at this person and smiling and nodding, eating shrimp and stuff, but we're really listening over here. Our full attention is really directed over here. We get to choose all the time. Back when I was a real pastor, I used to go to pastors' conferences. I used to go to pastors' conferences a lot, and it's very funny. When pastors talk to each other, they're really more concerned about, is there a more prominent pastor in the room that they can connect with than you? And so you may be engaged in a conversation, but not only are they not paying attention to you, they're not even looking at you. They're looking over your shoulder. Or have you been talking to somebody and like in the middle of the conversation, you're kind of looking down because you're not good at making eye contact with people, and you're kind of looking down, and then you look up, and the person that you were talking to, it wasn't even looking at you. They're like checking their text or something like that. We get to choose our attention. We have the capacity to determine where our attention goes. It's my choice. Here's number 3. Whatever you give your attention to grows. Now, this is universal. We talk about this all the time at Fellowship, guys, because it's so, so true. Whatever you give your attention to grows. We should know this by now, right? But it's so hard to get into our heads. You focus on negative stuff grows. You focus on positive stuff, your life gets better. Whatever you focus on, whatever you give your attention to, that is the thing that grows. You want love in your life? Focus on love. Don't focus on the fact you don't have love. Whatever your attention goes toward, that is the thing that grows in your life. That's the power of our attention. Think about it with your kids. You give your attention to your kids and the relationship grows. Take your attention away from your kids. Work, life, drama, neighbors, whatever. And your kids begin to move away from the relationship. Whatever you give your attention to grows. Here's the fourth thing. Divided attention is diluted attention. Divided attention is diluted attention. You know, sometimes those conversations that we have with people when they catch us not paying attention, it's not that we're not paying attention, we're just paying attention to something else. Right? My attention is always directed somewhere. But when I begin to divide my attention up between certain people, all of a sudden the impact of my attention in that person's life begins to be diluted. It's watered down. I didn't know this for a while, but I grew up, in Oklahoma. We raise cattle there. We grow cattle. We milk them. We drink their milk. And then we butcher them and eat them. And we're proud of that. And for a long time, you had really two kinds of milk. You had heavy cream and you had milk. That's all you had. And now you got cream, you got whipping cream, you got whole milk, you got 2% milk, you got 1% milk, which I think is skim milk, then you got soy milk, then you got like 12 other kinds of milk. And, one time I thought, I'm going to get a little bit healthier. So I'm going to drink a different kind of milk. So my whole life, we grew up drinking, cream and whole milk. I thought, they said you're supposed to do percent milk. So I'm going to just so I dropped down to 2%. I'm like, that's not too bad. And I think I lost a couple pounds over the last year. So I'm going to go down to the 1%. I went down to the 1% milk. I kid you not. You guys know this. It was like drinking colored water. It has no milk flavor. It's water with white food coloring in it. That's all it is. And I mean, how do they get white food coloring? I don't even know what that is. It's so diluted, it has no nutritional value. It certainly has no taste value. It has no value. So please join me on the 1% milk boycott. Whatever gets diluted, whatever gets divided, after time gets diluted. You know what it's like if you have kids of all ages. My kids are all ages now, and even going when they were young, for them to come and get my attention while there's something on TV that I'm watching, first they start over here at the side. Hey, Dad. Yeah. Hey, Dad, can I go outside and play? Check with your mom on that. And the game, right? Dad, I got something really important to talk to you about. Okay, go ahead. They start moving closer, right, into the field of view. And part of the challenge now is our televisions are so much wider than they used to be. The field of view is wider, right? So, hey, Dad, I just need to talk to you a minute. Yep, go ahead. Well, I was thinking about maybe if I could just, yep, hang on a second. Oh, told him not to throw that pass. Right? Until finally, right in front. Dad. Yes. What? Can't wait till a commercial. Divided attention is diluted attention. One final thing today about attention. Remember, this is the first step in the meeting the needs of our heart. This is the first and most basic one, is attention. Here's number 5. Give attention that speaks to the receiver. Give attention that speaks to the receiver. I don't know if you're familiar with this or not, but there was a study done back in the 50s. It was called the Hawthorne effect. Basically stated that whenever people are being observed and they know they're being observed, their behavior changes. I found that to be true. How about you? Whenever we know we're being observed, especially like if we're on video for like a nationally syndicated kind of day in the life of a real life pastor in church, we sit up straighter. We don't sleep. You know, we're like on best behavior. Because when we know we're being watched, when we know we're getting somebody's attention, it meets a fundamental need in our heart. Several of you have already texted your friends and family to tell them, please watch the reality TV show that's coming out on AMC this fall about the pastor and the church, because I'm going to be on there. You've already texted your friends. Please now text them and tell them your pastor made all that up. But it was a great illustration that when we know we're being watched, our behavior changes. And it's not just true of our kids, is it? Doesn't matter what age we are. Our behavior changes when we know we've gained somebody's attention. It can change for the good or it can change for the bad. We get to choose. How attention is filtered into my life and what it means to me when it comes into my life determines how I'm going to respond. And so if I'm a giver of attention, if I'm a parent, if I'm a spouse, if I'm a friend, if I'm a significant other, if I'm giving attention to someone, if I'm directing the focal energy of my life towards someone, it matters what kind of attention I'm giving them. It matters to them. And I got to be sensitive to that. I got to be aware of that. You've probably been in a restaurant like I have when server was carrying a big tray of dishes, glasses, all that kind of thing, got right back to the kitchen, and the previous server had spilled something and forgot to wipe it up, and so out go their feet, down comes the tray, glasses go everywhere, crashing, spilling, dirty food, the whole thing. And sometimes it's like a teenager, and they're sitting there, and it's the most mortifying moment of their entire life. And what does the restaurant do? Everybody claps. See, that's the wrong kind of attention. That's not appropriate attention for a moment like that. Next time that happens when you're in a restaurant, feel free to slap the person that's clapping and just say, wrong attention. Just say it, wrong attention. They won't understand, but one day they might. There are appropriate kinds of attention, and there are inappropriate kinds of attention. Sometimes in our house over the course of the summer, Peg will be home for the summer. She's at a school, and so she's going to be home all summer, and we'll go on vacation, and I'll be hanging out with the family. And you take busy people and you try to make them, you try to introduce them into a family environment. And by day 4, she's like, "Don't you have something to do?" I'm like, I am. I'm focused on you and children. What do you want to do? She's like, "I want you. Time out. Just take a break." Hyper attention means you're a stalker. So on vacation, I'm like the Baird family stalker. There are all kinds of appropriate attention. We have to figure out what kind of attention people need. Your kids are all different. Some of them like a lot of attention. Some of them like private attention. Some of them like public attention. We're all different when it comes to what attention speaks to our heart. One of the beautiful things about growing deep relationships is it's okay to tell people, the other people in your life, what kind of attention you like. On more than one occasion. Because I don't mind public attention, and I think everybody should enjoy public attention. My kids have had to say to me, "Hey, Dad, by the way, please, when you stood up at the restaurant and you gave that speech on my birthday for just our family so that all the restaurant could hear, please don't ever do that again." Oh, you didn't like that? Everybody's attention needs are different. So, attention is this most basic, fundamental need of our heart. It gives way to the next need in our heart, which we'll talk about next week, which is affection. So let me ask you a couple of probing questions before we leave today. Are you getting enough attention from the people of significance in your life? Are they paying you appropriate levels of attention and appropriate types of attention? Because it's a basic need of your heart, you may need to communicate how you like to be attended to. What it feels like when you're attended improperly or inappropriately. You may need to have a conversation about how you enjoy certain kinds of attention at certain times. Attention is a powerful component in growing our heart and in growing our relationships, but we have to do it well.